Hi viewer, welcome to our another video. In this video we will discuss about top 25 .NET Core interview questions with answers. We will be uploading videos on technology and career guidance on our channel regularly, to encourage us to do more videos like this. Please subscribe to our channel if you are watching our channel for the first time. Don't forget to like this video if you like our video. Please share with your friends. What is .NET Core? ASP.NET Core is not an upgraded version of ASP.NET. ASP.NET Core is completely rewriting that work with the .NET Core framework. It is much faster, configurable, modular, scalable, extensible, and has cross-platform support. It can work with both .NET Core and .NET Framework via the .NET Standard Framework. It is best suitable for developing cloud-based such as web applications, mobile applications, and IoT applications. ASP.NET Core was primarily designed to make the most important part of the ASP.NET components under the concept Learn in the Compose framework, where the previous ASP.NET components were released under a variety of different licenses periodically. The ASP.NET Core framework is a completely open-sourced framework. Apart from the other parts of the framework of the .NET Framework libraries, the ASP.NET Core is primarily designed from scratch to be the platform agnostic that performs seamlessly. It will allow the ASP.NET Core apps to be deployed on the various platforms or the OS such as the macOS or Linux-based servers or certain devices. Next question: what is the advantage of .NET Core? ASP.NET Core comes with the following benefits over ASP.NET. Cross-platform, provide ability to develop and run on Windows, Linux and macOS. Open source, unified platform to develop web GUI and services. Built-in dependency injection, ability to deploy on more than one server like EASE, Kestrel, Nginx, Docker, Apache etc. Cloud-enabled framework, provide support for environment-based configuration systems. Lightweight, high performance and modern HTTP request pipelines. Well-suited architecture for testability. Integration of many client-side frameworks like Angular any version. Blazor allow you to use C# code in a browser with JavaScript code. Next question: what is middleware? It is software that is injected into the application pipeline to handle requests and responses. They are just like chained to each other and form as a pipeline. The incoming requests are passed through this pipeline where all middleware is configured, and middleware can perform some action on the request before passing it to the next middleware. Same is for the responses, they are also passing through the middleware but in reverse order. Middleware example: while working with the ASP.NET Core framework, there are tons of built-in middleware components available that are already made available that we can use directly that act as a plug-and-play components. If we don't want to use any of the inbuilt middleware, then we can also create our own middleware components in ASP.NET Core applications whenever we want. The most important point that you need to keep in mind is that in ASP.NET Core a given middleware component should only have a specific purpose, which means it should be used for a single responsibility. Next question: what is short-circuiting? Short-circuiting middleware components are used when you want to inspect the request and decide if the request should be passed to the next component. Next question: what is dependency injection? Dependency injection, D, is a software design pattern that allows us to separate the dependencies of a class from its implementation. This makes our code more loosely coupled and easier to test. In .NET Core, dependency injection is implemented using the iServiceProvider interface. This interface provides a way to register services with the D container and then inject those services into classes that need them. To use dependency injection in .NET Core, we need to do the following. Create an interface that defines the contract for our dependency. Create a class that implements the interface. Register the service with the D container. Inject the service into the class that needs it. Next question: what is a singleton, a scope, and a transient? Three methods define the lifetime of the services. A transient. Transient lifetime services are created each time they are requested. This lifetime works best for lightweight, stateless services. A scoped. Scoped lifetime services are created once per request. A singleton. Singleton lifetime services are created the first time they are requested, or when configure services is run if you specify an instance there, and then every subsequent request will use the same instance. Next question: difference between app.use and app.run. For app.run, it adds a terminal middleware delegate to the application's request pipeline. For app.use, it adds a middleware delegate to the application's request pipeline. For the difference between app.run and app.use, app.run will end the request, and app.use will pass the request to the next middleware. Next question: what is routing and its types? Routing is functionality that map incoming request to the route handler. The route can have values, extract them from the URL, that are used to process the request. Using the route, routing can find a route handler based on the URL. All the routes are registered when the application is started. There are two types of routing supported by ASP.NET Core. The conventional routing, attribute routing. The routing uses routes to map incoming requests with the route handler and generates URL that is used in response. Mostly, the application has a single collection of routes, and this collection is used for the process of the request. The routeasync method is used to map incoming requests that match the URL with available in route collection. Next question: what is conventional and attribute routing? Conventional routing. This type of routing can be set up via USINPoints middleware. Below example shows a call to map controller route, which takes a route name and route parameters. Route parameters have some defaults. If controller name is not found in incoming URL, home controller would be the default controller, and if action name is not found in incoming URL, index action would be used. The last parameter, it is optional. Route name specified in below example has nothing to do with URL matching with endpoint. It is just logical name for configurations. Note that these two parameters are not optional. Attribute routing. As per recommendation from documentation, REST APIs should use attribute routing to model the app's functionality as a set of resources where operations are represented by HTTP verbs. It uses mapControllers method inside USINPoints middleware. Next question: what is upsettings? JSON file. In the ASP.NET Core application we may not find the web config file. Instead we have a file named upsettings.json. So to configure the settings like database connections, mail settings or some other custom configuration settings, we will use the upsettings.json. The upsettings in ASP.NET Core have different configuration sources as shown below. Upsettings.json file. Environment variable. User secrets. Command line arguments. Next question: what is launch settings.json? The upsettings.json file is generally used to store the application configuration settings such as database connection strings, any application scope global variables, and much other information. Actually, in ASP.NET Core, the application configuration settings can be stored in different configuration sources such as upsettings.json file, upsettings. Environment name, JSON file, where the environment is the application's current hosting environments such as development, staging or production, user secrets, where we used to store sensitive information, etc. Next question: what is filters in .NET Core? Filters are used to add functionality that is specific to an action method or controller. Filters are executed in a specific order, based on their type: authorization filters, action filters, result filters, etc. Authorization. we can use an authorization filter to verify that a user is authorized to access a particular action method or controller. Caching, we can use a caching filter to cache the response of an action method, so that subsequent requests can be served faster. Logging, we can use a logging filter to log information about each request and response. Validation, we can use a validation filter to validate the input to an action method, to ensure that it meets certain criteria. Exception handling, we can use an exception filter to catch exceptions thrown by an action method and handle them appropriately. Next question, filters vs middleware in ASP.NET Core. In .NET Core, both filters and middleware can be used to add additional functionality to an HTTP request pipeline. However, there are some differences between the two. Filters are used to add functionality that is specific to an action method or controller, whereas middleware is used to add functionality that is applied to all requests passing through the pipeline. Filters are executed in a specific order, based on their type: authorization filters, action filters, result filters, etc., whereas middleware is executed in the order it is added to the pipeline. Filters can access and modify the action context and arguments, whereas middleware can only modify the HTTP context. Multiple filters can be applied to a single action method, whereas only one middleware can be applied to a single request. There are many built-in filters in .NET Core, such as authorization filters, action filters, exception filters, and resource filters, but middleware is more flexible and allows developers to create their own custom middleware. In general, if you need to add functionality that is specific to a controller or action method, then filters may be the best choice. If you need to add functionality that applies to all requests passing through the pipeline, then middleware may be the best choice. Following are some examples of when you might use filters and middleware in .NET Core. Filters. Authorization. We can use an authorization filter to verify that a user is authorized to access a particular action method or controller. Caching. We can use a caching filter to cache the response of an action method, so that subsequent requests can be served faster. Logging. We can use a logging filter to log information about each request and response. Validation. We can use a validation filter to validate the input to an action method, to ensure that it meets certain criteria. Exception handling. We can use an exception filter to catch exceptions thrown by an action method and handle them appropriately. Middleware. CORS. We can use middleware to add CORS, cross-origin resource sharing, support to your application, so that it can be accessed from other domains. Static files. We can use middleware to serve static files, such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files, from your application. Session management. We can use middleware to manage user sessions, so that user data can be persisted across requests. Compression. We can use middleware to compress the response of an HTTP request, to reduce the amount of data that needs to be transferred. Authentication. We can use middleware to handle user authentication, such as verifying user credentials and creating authentication tokens. Overall, both filters and middleware provide a powerful mechanism for adding additional functionality to your .NET Core application's HTTP request pipeline. Next question: how will you configure CORS? Cross-origin resource sharing, CORS, is an HTTP header-based mechanism that allows a server to indicate any origins, domain, scheme, or port other than its own from which a browser should permit loading resources. CORS also relies on a mechanism by which browser make a pre-flight request to the server hosting the cross-origin resource, in order to check that the server will permit the actual request. In that pre-flight, the browser sends headers that indicate the HTTP method and headers that will be used in the actual request. To enable CORS in ASP.NET Core Web API, these are the steps we need to follow. Install the CORS middleware. Register CORS middleware to the pipeline in the configure services method of startup.cs. Enable CORS in the configure method of startup.cs. Enable, disable CORS in the controllers, the action methods, or globally. Next question: what is Kestrel? Kestrel is a cross-platform web server built for ASP.NET Core based on LibUV, a cross-platform asynchronous I/O library. It is a default web server pick since it is used in all ASP.NET Core templates. It is really fast. It is secure and good enough to use it without a reverse proxy server. However, it is still recommended that you use EASE, Nginx or Apache or something else. Next question: what is the startup class in ASP.NET Core? The startup class is the entry point of the ASP.NET Core application. Every .NET Core application must have this class. This class contains the application configuration related items. It is not necessary that the class name must be startup, it can be anything. We can configure the startup class in the program class. Next question: what is the use of the configure method of the startup class? It defines how the application will respond to each HTTP request. We can configure the request pipeline by configuring the middleware. It accepts iApplicationBuilder as a parameter and also it has two optional parameters, iHosting environment and ilogafactory. Using this method, we can configure built-in middleware such as routing, authentication, session, etc., as well as third-party middleware. Next question: what is Tag Helper in ASP.NET Core? It is a feature provided by the Razor View engine that enables us to write server-side code to create and render the HTML element in Vue, Razor. The Tag Helper is a C# class that is used to generate the view by adding the HTML element. The functionality of the Tag Helper is very similar to the HTML helper of ASP.NET MVC. Next question: how to enable session in ASP.NET Core? The middleware for the session is provided by the package Microsoft AS.NET Core Session. To use the session in the ASP.NET Core application, we need to add this package to the CS project file and add the session middleware to the ASP.NET Core request pipeline. Next question: what is the difference between iApplicationBuilder, use, and iApplicationBuilder, run? We can use both the methods in configure methods of the startup class. Both are used to add middleware delegates to the application request pipeline. The middleware adds using iApplicationBuilder. Use may call the next middleware in the pipeline, whereas the middleware adds using iApplicationBuilder. The run method never calls the subsequent middleware. After iApplicationBuilder, run method, system stop adding middleware in the request pipeline. Next question: what is the use of the configure services method of the startup class? This is an optional method of startup class. It can be used to configure the services that are used by the application. This method calls first when the application is requested for the first time. Using this method, we can add the services to the container, so services are available as a dependency in the controller constructor. Next question: what is the use of the configure method of the startup class? It defines how the application will respond to each HTTP request. We can configure the request pipeline by configuring the middleware. It accepts iApplicationBuilder as a parameter and also it has two optional parameters, iHosting environment and ilogafactory. Using this method, we can configure built-in middleware such as routing, authentication, session, etc., as well as third-party middleware. Next question: how to specify the service life for a registered service that is added as a dependency? ASP.NET Core allows us to specify the lifetime for registered services. The service instance gets disposed of automatically based on a specified lifetime. So, we do not care about the cleaning these dependencies, it will take care of the ASP.NET Core framework. There are three types of lifetimes. Singleton. ASP.NET Core will create and share a single instance of the service through the application life. The service can be added as a singleton using the addSingleton method of iServiceCallectIon. ASP.NET Core creates a service instance at the time of registration and subsequent requests use the service instance. Here, we do not require to implement the singleton design pattern and single instance maintained by the ASP.NET Core itself. Transient. ASP.NET Core will create and share an instance of the service every time to the application when we ask for it. The service can be added as transient using the addTransient method of iServiceCallectIon. This lifetime can be used in stateless service. It is a way to add lightweight service. Scoped. ASP.NET Core will create and share an instance of the service per request to the application. It means that a single instance of service is available per request. It will create a new instance in the new request. The service can be added as scoped using an addScoped method of iServiceCallectIon. We need to take care while the service registered via scoped in middleware and inject the service in the invoke or unvokeSync methods. If we inject dependency via the constructor, it behaves like a singleton object. Next question: how can we do the automatic model binding in Razor Pages? The Razor Pages provide the option to bind property automatically when posting the data using the bindProperty attribute. By default, it only binds the properties only with non-get verbs. We need to set supports getProperty to true to bind a property on getting a request. Next question: what are metapackages? The framework.NET Core 2.0 introduced Metapackage, which includes all the supported packages by ASP.NET Code with their dependencies into one package. It helps us to do fast development as we don't require to include the individual ASP.NET Core packages. The assembly Microsoft, ASP.NET Core, all is a meta package provided by ASP.NET Core. In other words, the metapackages of .NET Core describes the set of packages that are used together and acts as a parent of the child grouping structure. The metapackages are referenced just like any other NuGet package naming convention such as net standard, library, and by referencing the meta package you have, then all its child packages will be having the reference of its dependent packages accordingly. Thank you for watching our video. I am Sirish Kantamanni. If you have any questions or doubts on the topic like technology and career guidance, please comment below so we will reply or make a video on it.